welcome, Brian. You've been a trainer at the Trust for 20 years and been in and around the Psychosynthesis Trust for over 30 years. What was it like in those early days?
Well, I was very I was searching for something more. My own spiritual search brought me to the Trust because it combined like the human side and the spiritual side, like the psycho-spiritual psychosynthesis of like a psychology of the soul. And when I came in my own humanness, and I had a lot to learn in my training, I felt really blessed to be the trainers, some of them now dead and gone, who saw in me more than I saw in myself at the time, and who helped me to, I don't know, they drew that out of me in some way, even though I felt like, oh gosh. But they, yes, and then I've learned a lot over those years. I trained the beginning of the 90s, so I've known the Trust for 30 years, just over 30 years. And I guess it's the students that, certainly my colleagues have influenced me and supported me. But the students, the hundreds of students that I've worked with in groups have really touched me by their individuality and their own search in their souls for meaning and purpose, and their struggles with old patterns, but also the freeing them from them. And I've always held, because of my own spiritual practice, that there's each of them are souls on a journey, and I feel very aligned. What supports me is that deeper contact with that greater self, and to sit in front of the students, to walk about the room, to be a bit crazy at times, a bit eccentric, but all the time I've been supported by that alignment with that greater self, which took me into a really inclusive relationality with students, you know, and really listening to them and holding that, whatever came, tears, angst, whatever it was. And just, I don't think a lot of the students realize how much I learned from them, because I see myself as a student of life, really. And I guess that's been wonderful to me. And the whole awakening process in that for me is I was very inspired by what I taught, you know, the different modules that I taught, because they were so much part of my own resonance with something greater and a greater attunement to the self. And the whole finding of that, the inner still point, and to have that inner reference and to hold that in the midst of challenge, upset, but to help to create an environment where students would feel safe and able to share.
You said to me that when you were a student, that you always held a little hope that you too could teach. Would you like to say a bit more about that?
Yes, about halfway through my own training, I thought, oh, I'd love to be a teacher here. But then I thought, Brian, you're being delusional. It's like, come on, you know, ship up. It's like, but then I guess really by grace, and bumpity bump, and I became a student tutor, then a group supervisor, then a manager, and then a trainer for 20 years, and so I still pinched myself and said, did that really happen? Because something else greater than me was at work there. You know, because oh, I'm scared, I can't do that. But yet I find resources in myself to do it.
And it's kind of crazy, isn't it? Because of course I knew you as a student, and I think about you and I think about all of the different lives that you've touched. If there's one message that you would like to put out, what would that be?
Trust in yourself, but also don't limit yourself. You know, to really, but most of all, to open your heart. Open your heart to yourself, to the people in your life, to your fellow students. Open your heart to this greater self. That's all.
That's so beautiful. Thank you. Can you share a little bit more about what that means?
I think because of my own, I've been on a long spiritual journey and different meditation practice, and by bringing spirituality into everyday life, a spirituality that is grounded in everyday life. And because the subjects that I taught, they resonated with me so much that I felt I wasn't just teaching them, I was embodying them. I'm living them. It's not just something, I wasn't teaching from my head, I was teaching from my heart. Mm-hmm. And there's a real embodiment for me there.
Mm-hmm. I really think that the trust has benefited from knowing you and you knowing it over the last decades.
Very much so. It's been an awakening and touching relationship.
Deep gratitude, Brian. Thank you.